See that? You can respond to those electromagnetic waves. You can respond to that part of the spectrum. But there's a whole lot of the spectrum that we don't know. So that's why I say you do three things. First thing in the morning, you spend your time with God and get those thoughts going and make contact and find out where this box of riches is for you that satisfies everything you want and gives you everything, all happiness. And then every 15 minutes you rejoice about it. So we did our rejoicing at 3 o'clock. And then throughout the day you count pure thoughts. I'll tell you how many I got today, and it's way ahead. It's for Tuesday even yet already. I have 70, 70, and 140 already. Just keep counting the pure thoughts. Wonderful things. Well, I think that's everything. I love you. I want you to make it. In fact, that's the thing I want most. I want most for you to be happy. See what we got, folks. See what we got. We have a new moon. Aren't we lucky? Look at him, isn't he sweet? I want to show you what I'm feeding the raccoons tonight. It's peanut butter sandwiches and biscuits. Boy, do they love watermelon. Somebody gave me a big piece of watermelon from the church yesterday. And I didn't eat any of it. I just cut it up and gave it to them. My goodness, they eat all the way down to the green rind. They even eat the white rind. So tonight they're having biscuits and peanut butter. They had that last night too. I see these are tender bits. Worthington Foods tender bits. And they come in the can like this. And then you cut them up into little pieces like this. And you just dampen them, wet them. Maybe with the juice of the canned peas. And then you put the breadcrumbs on them. And then you saute them in olive oil. And here it is, folks. And here's one for you. Folks, look at the size of this catalpa leaf. Look at it. This is my hand, and look at the size of it. Isn't that huge? That's that wonderful tree that has those orchid-like blossoms, and then has a great big long bean pod. It's an amazing creation. And here's the size of a maple leaf alongside of it. I got so hot I couldn't stand it, and I took a shower, and then it got so hot that the earth couldn't stand it, and it took a shower. I had it on night light. Let me show you the catalpa leaf again. This is my hand. This is how big it is. And there's the size of the maple leaf next to it. And there's a cute little pussy girl. You scared of? You don't seem to be scared of thunderandlightning.com. So as I say, I got so hot I couldn't stand it, and I took a shower, and the earth got so hot it couldn't stand it, and now it's taking a shower. You are a judge. You are judge.com. Do you know why you are a judge? Because you sleep on legal papers. And what legal paper are you sleeping on? You are sleeping on Glendora versus Rothschild and 9 other dirty international bankers who are robbing us of America. And 2 dirty judges named Gomez and Barnard. Barnard is only a magistrate though. And folks, you're going to hear about this as soon as this last page is printed, and as soon as I make 26 envelopes. There were 20 defendants. There goes a weekly shopper and a lot of other third-class mail. And a cereal box. Cereal box is good. All kinds of grains with strawberries in it. Dried strawberries. Delicious. We make so much rubbish. The courts make so much rubbish. The judges, the lawyers, the clerks. Arthur Spat, Curtis Gomez, Edward J. Lodge, C.F. Hummel. All rubbish. Charles Bryant, Mark D. Fox, Robert Callaghan, Sadley, Stevens, Burke and Burke, Walter Sorrock, the 10 international bankers, Rothschild, Lazard Frere, Warburg Pincus, David Rockefeller, Goldman Sachs, Lehman Brothers. There. Keep stoking the fires in the courts. Burn up their rubbish. And get good people in the courts. And let the courts be what they should be. Children, I'm sorry to tell you, children of tomorrow, you have no courts to go to. There are no courts. Boycott the courts, folks. Boycott the courts. They're not any good. Put them out of business. Make these judges go to work for grocery stores and make an honest living. It takes a long time in effigy to burn up the rubbish in the courts. Long time. Boycott the courts. Put them out of business. Stop wasting your money. This is omnibus lawsuit number 2820. This is omnibus lawsuit number 2820 defendants or so. Rothschild of North America and Raymond W. Smith. These are the 10 international bankers, and they have been sued for robbing us of America. Gerald Rosenbaum, who is with Rothschild North America and against America. Defendants Warburg and Pincus and Lionel I. Pincus, international banker, robbing us of America. Defendant Rockefeller Financial Services and David Rockefeller, one of the 10 worst international bankers. Defendants Lazard Frere and Michael A. David Weil and John C. Adams, international bankers. Defendants the Trilateral Commission and Thomas J. Foley. Defendants Elliot Spitzer and Richard Rifkin and James B. Henley. I have caught Elliot Spitzer, who is the Attorney General for the state of New York, running for governor. I've caught this man lying and cheating at least 30 times. Going back to the international bankers robbing us of the United States is Goldman Sachs and Company and Henry M. Paulson. The Federal Reserve System and Alan Greenspan, mighty injustices there. taking away our right to coin our own money. Federal Reserve notes, no silver certificates, print as many as they want, loan them to the United States, and then charge the United States interest. That's a scam artist's dream. Defendants, the World Bank and James D. Wolfenson and Paul Wolfowitz, international bankers. Council on Foreign Relations, who improperly influence our Congress people, our executive branch, and our Supreme Court branch, our whole judicial branch. Defendants Lehman Brothers and Richard S. Fuld. These are the international bankers robbing us of America. The 10th of the worst international bankers is the Trilateral Commission and Thomas S. Foley. And David Rockefeller. They just moved down to Washington, D.C. so they can exert more influence in taking America away from us. A liar for hire for Elliot Spitzer is Lisa Gardy. And also in the Attorney General's office for their cheating, Rifkin and Henley. They allow this to go on. Terrible. Perpetual defendants and perpetual fugitives, unbelievable. James Reynolds, Stuart Smith, Rob Johnson, Lori Pulver, Mid-Hudson Cablevision, and Mid-Hudson Media. Unbelievable. For violating public access rights and keeping from you people in the coverage area of this cable company, keeping you people from getting the community news that everybody else is getting. You are on TV and nobody knows it in your area because of these bad people. James Reynolds, Stuart Smith, Rob Johnson, Lori Pulver, Mid-Hudson Cablevision, and Mid-Hudson Media. Arthur Spat, who violates public access rights, doesn't care a hoot about the public, and just colludes with Cablevision. Someday he should collide with Cablevision. But, how's your father? He said to Charles Former, the lawyer at Cablevision. And Arthur Spat's law clerk, Jeffrey Amato, who's related to Alyssa Amato, my defendant, that I sued at Cablevision. Michael Young and Jack Nussbaum and Wilkie Farr and Gallagher, who have the Adelphia, who are the so-called lawyers for the Regas family, who lost Adelphia Cable and has been gobbled up by Time Warner and Comcast. They have done a terrible job, these people, these defendants. And all the international bankers have jumped in to get the $17 billion that the Regas family amassed. And they have done a mess of the bankruptcy proceeding. They removed 400 cases from state court. They haven't handled any of them. We haven't got any justice at all, we shareholders. Perennial liar for hire, Sadly Stephen Burke and Burke. Liar for hire, Walter A. Sarrock. Liar for hire, Robert M. Callaghan. Defendant Cecilia Masterilli of Cablevision Systems Corporation, who still owes Glendora $5,000. These defendants in the Second Circuit, Manhattan, Guido Calabrese, John M. Walker, George Bush's cousin, he's the chief judge of the Second Circuit, Manhattan, and the clerk there, Roseanne McKechnie, and a deputy there, Chin Allen. What did they do? Well, they probably broken more laws than all of the defendants who have ever come before them. They have violated probably the United States more times than the sum total of the defendants who have come to them. Richard Shemansky, a clerk in the Nassau District Court, State Court, who doesn't know how to file a lawsuit, and Denise Scher, who countenances it. This is a group of cheaters, out-and-out cheaters and traitors to the United States, the First Circuit in Boston. Salya, Lopez, Perez, Jimenez, Stearns, Richard Stearns. Oh, that's a bad one. Tortorella, Went, Pagano, and another judge on the so-called Judicial Council of the First Circuit, Boston, is William Smith, who's in Providence. The clerk of the court, and this latest federal judge to hit the pits. Another federal judge hits the pits. Curtis V. Gomez, United States District Judge in the Virgin Islands. The latest judge to hit the pits. A rather lethargic lawyer for Rothschild and a law-breaking United States attorney for the United States District Courts in the Virgin Islands. End of defendants. And here it is, everybody. We started on August the 1st and finished today, August the 2nd. Anno Domini, the year of our Lord. And it's the United States District Court for the District of the U.S. Virgin Islands. And it's Glendora plaintiff versus Rothschild, North America, Raymond W. Smith, and Gerald Rosenfeld et al. And here's the case number. And what it is a Rule 60B motion by Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. And it's asking for relief from the order. Glendora motion for relief from order pursuant to Rule 60B, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. Gomez is the name of the United States judge, and there's a magistrate there in the Virgin Islands called Barnard. Gomez and Barnard both violated the United States Code, Title 28, United States Code, Section 636, which says, no magistrate shall touch Glendora's lawsuit without her consent in writing, and Glendora never gave her consent in writing. She did not, and she will not. And both her papers are, both of the papers are unlawful. The one written by Barnard, which is a report and recommendation, and the order written by Curtis V. Gomez. And Gomez and Barnard must be impeached, fined, and jailed. And Glendora also wants her $50 back, plus their costs. And Barnard and Gomez have committed fraud. They've committed a lot of fraud, but they particularly have committed consumer fraud. Alpha, the return date is August the 23rd, 2006. That's 3 weeks from today. Gomez flunks basic litigation. He does not know that a civil rights case can be brought in any federal court in the United States. Their flimsy and no account excuse was jurisdiction. Of course they have jurisdiction. But they don't know the law, and they don't know basic litigation. Nor does Gomez know that pro se civil rights cases cannot be dismissed summarily. That means I don't get any discovery. That means I don't get the jury trial. It means that my Fifth Amendment right is violated, my Sixth Amendment right, and my 14th Amendment right are all violated. This is how dumb Gomez is, and how crooked, and how cheap, and how cheater. Gomez knows fully well that all the defendants failed to answer the complaint timely and are in default. That's indisputable, incontestable, or uncontestable. Further, Gomez knows that all defendants failed to answer the motion for default judgment. Now this is double default, and it's incontestably so, unamphibiously so. Openly and shamelessly, Gomez turns his back. We all know he is being puppeted. And we all know who's pulling the strings. It's the international bankers. Hence, Gomez is in violation of Criminal Code, Title 18, U.S. Code, Section 1001. Lying, cheating, covering up, material fact. And this carries a fine and a jail term. So Gomez and Barnard should both be in jail, along with the U.S. Attorney there, Carroll. It is no secret who is pulling the strings. The bonds of both Barnard and Gomez must be challenged and claims made against them because they are bad risks. This is pitiful dis-Americanism, and you children of tomorrow, you can do anything you want. A federal court is not going to stop you. Unless you're poor. If you're poor, that might not stop you. They will not enforce the law. And they took oaths. Barnard and Curtis v. Gomez took oaths to support the Constitution of the United States and to protect the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The biggest domestic enemy we have today is the courts. Gomez and Barnard have failed despicably in their effective and efficacious administration of the business of the courts. They don't know what the business of the courts is. The business of the courts is justice. They don't know that. We have another failure. Justice is dead. It is people like Gomez and Barnard and the two Carrolls who give the courts a bad name. Nobody believes them. What do we do when the judges are worse than the defendants? This is Title 28, United States Code 351, Judicial Misconduct and Disability. Carroll lawyer showed abysmal lack of power, moral, legal, intellectual, and spiritual in his so-called letter in behalf of the Rothschild defendants. That would be Rothschild North America, Raymond W. Smith, and Gerald Rosenberg. They chose to be slaves to the international bankers, denude the courts of justice, rights, protections, esteem. Children of tomorrow, you have no place to go. If anybody violates you, children of tomorrow, you have no place to go. They are locked into it, Gomez and Barnard and the rest of them, and they do not have the caliber to extricate themselves. They do not have the impetus, nor the capacity. We must pray ardently for them. Please pray for them. Curtis v. Gomez and his fellow accomplice, his partner in crime, Barnard. They have been flattened to a nothing. Boycott the courts, folks. There's nothing left. Do not go to the courts. put them out of business, and then these people will have to find other jobs like grocery stores and earn an honest living for the first time in their lives. Save the taxpayers the huge expense of the federal courts, quote unquote. Shut them down. Gamma. Did it end with a bang? No, folks. It ended with a whimper. Our United States ended with a whimper. God has called us to expose another one. Another federal judge hits the pits. Curtis V. Gomez. Last week, another federal judge hit the pits. Edward J. Lodge, Idaho. They cheated, and they know they cheated. As kids, did they play their games fairly and squarely? I doubt it, folks. Delta. So continue to rob the children of tomorrow of the courts and aid and abet a publication by peace officers and police and soldiers agonize over judges tampering with the juries and making the outcome exactly the way they want it, which is against America. You don't understand why federal judges are against America, do you? It's because they're in the service of the international bankers, and the international bankers are against America. They want to do away with America. They don't want America to have sovereignty. They don't want America to be a country. They want to do away with all countries because they want to be a world government and enslave the rest of us. And Phyllis Schlafly wants us to form groups of 10 and meet in our homes once a week and discuss one chapter of how to stop the tyranny of judges. Everybody is against the judges. St. Paul in 2 Timothy 2 told us about you. I'll read that to you later. Conclusion. For any of the foregoing reasons, the so-called order, quote unquote, of Gomez, dated July the 20th, 2006. They didn't get here until July the 31st. Must be vacated, and Glendora must be relieved of the same, and her money fraudulently taken from her refunded to her. Now, under penalty of perjury and with alacrity, Glendora asseverates that she has told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help her God. Gomez has not. Further, Glendora asseverates that she served the within 8 pages on all the defendants, 32 copies, 32 sets. And both Carols, Carol the crooked U.S. attorney and Carol the crooked lawyer, so-called, for Rothschild defendants. Anyway, she served him today, August the 2nd, 2006, by U.S. first-class mail. This paper is dated today, August the 2nd, 2006, Anno Domini, the year of our Lord, in the state of New York. Yours in truth, and an amor patriae, which means love of one's country, which Gomez does not have. And it's signed Glendora. And it's opus 1,435. That's 1,435 legal papers. It took 8 hours. It cost $16.62. And the internet number is circa 4,418, 7th edition. Without prejudice, Uniform Commercial Code, Article 1, Section 207, Glendora. A chat with Glendora on 52 TV stations, including Albany, New York, and the District of Columbia. Now, here's what St. Paul says. But know this, that in the last days, perilous times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. I think that pretty well describes you defendants, and it certainly describes you, Gomez and Barnard, and the two Carols. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. This is very, very interesting. Now you know Daniel in the Bible, and I know somebody named Daniel, and I'm going to give him this. And this comes from the first chapter of Daniel, the first verse. And it says, so Daniel said to the steward, whom the chief of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearance be examined before you, and the appearance of the young men who eat the portion of the king's delicacies, and as you see fit, so deal with your servants. So the man consented with him in this matter, and tested them 10 days. For 10 days they ate vegetables and drank water, instead of eating the king's delicacies and drinking the king's booze. And at the end of 10 days, their features appeared better and fatter in flesh than all the young men who ate the portion of the king's delicacies. Thus the steward took away their portion of delicacies and the wine that they were to drink, and gave them vegetables. As for these poor young men, God gave them knowledge and skill in all literature and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now, isn't that nice? Did you know that Daniel was a vegetarian? You would be a lot happier if you were a vegetarian. I'm vegan. I don't eat any animal products, not even honey. .com is vegan. She's the kitty cat. And the women formed a hiking group, and they call themselves the Walkie-Talkies. The boss says, I believe in reincarnation. Did you ever notice at 5 p.m. everybody comes back to life? And the man said to his 4 children, I want you to work like a horse, eat like a dog, run like a rabbit, and think like a fox, and go see your veterinarian every month. And when the teacher left the room, the boy put on the blackboard, I am the best kisser in this class. The teacher came back and said, did you write that? He said, yes. She kept him after school. Next day the little girl says, see, it doesn't pay to misbehave. And he said, no, but it pays to advertise. The man up in Vermont was trying to sell the country store owner an ad in the newspaper, and the country store owner says, I've been here 70 years, everybody knows where I am. And the man says, you see that church up on the hill? It's been here 150 years, but they still ring the bell Sunday morning. The senior citizen turned 100 and there was a big party, and he says, I don't see what all the fuss is about. All I did was to get old, and it took me a long time to do that. You can die, depending on how you live, with Daniel in mind. You can die young. You can die old at 30, and you can die young at 80. The man was asked, why do you drink wine instead of water? And the man says, I have an iron constitution and water would rust it. And Bill says that water in his hometown is so hard that you have to chew it before you swallow it. And when the traveler was going through customs, the agent started going through the traveler's suitcase, and the traveler says, that's just my clothes. There's nothing in there. You don't have to go through all my clothes. Just then the agent pulled out a bottle of bourbon, and he says, hey, this is your clothes? And the traveler says, yes, that's my nightcap. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life. And it's brought to you by thank you for all your telephone calls. They come from all over. I want you to find that box of riches that God has for you, everything that you want. Just remember, it takes time to find it. That means you go alone with God the first thing every morning. And every 15 minutes, you rejoice about something. It's 100 degrees, folks, and that's in the shade. It was more like 105 degrees, I think, if I put the thermometer in the south side. And what are we thankful for at 1:30? We're thankful for electromagnetic waves, which bring you public access. We're thankful that you and I joined together in working out your salvation, your perfection. We are thankful that we are born, alive, and healthy. Amen. We fed the animals. All I see is the raccoons. And that little girl raccoon I showed you, well, she's a young mother, and she showed up with 4 babies. Yeah, about this big. This is Glendora to Arnie Engen in Meriden, Connecticut.
Okay, Arnie. Fixing me up a tuna fish sandwich. All right. Let's see. I'll give you a joke. Yeah, the boss says that he believes in reincarnation. He says, did you ever notice at 5 p.m. everybody comes back to life? So simple and yet so eloquent. Okay. This barber asked his client, where are you going to go for your vacation? And the client says, I'm going to go to Rome. And the barber says, you won't like Rome. He says, the beds are hard, the food's terrible, you'll never get to see the Pope. And the man was disheartened, but he decided to go anyway. And when he got back, his barber said, did you go to Rome? Yes, I loved the accommodations, and I thought the food was excellent. Well, did you get to see the Pope? Yeah, I saw the Pope. What did the Pope say to you? Well, he pat me on the head 3 times, and then he said, where did you get that haircut? I should tell that to the Italian barber I go to. Definitely. Yeah.
I'm just about to feed the raccoons, but I have to show you our buddy moon. It's clear that I could see a little sunset today, too. The days are really getting shorter. He's almost half full, isn't he? I guess he is half full. Did I tell you today it was 99 degrees? I think I did. And that was in the shade. It was 110 out here in the South Lawn. Here's our buddy moon, the August moon. Tonight I'm going to feed the raccoons peanut butter sandwiches on crackers. Those are delicious. I have to eat mine on Rye Crisp because it's salubrious.
Okay, so the boss says, I believe in reincarnation. He said, did you ever notice at 5 p.m. everybody comes back to life? Yeah, they can't wait to get out of the office.
Today we're burning Christine Savarino, Tabasalaca, Jill DeCrenza, Officer Lewis, and Walter A. Sarrock, Sadly Stevens, Burke and Burke, and Robert Callaghan, Liar for Hire. Here is Buddy Moon, the August moon. And he doesn't have the cause of action right. He says a cause of action is breach of contract. Well, it is not. It is damages, 5,000 damages.
Acres, and we turned it into a dairy farm, and we had Fleischman's Dairy out there from 1930 until I went to the service in 1942. In 1940 or thereabouts, the federal government was buying up the land for the Census Bureau on Silver Hill Road. At that time, they came to my father and told him they were going to buy all the land from Silver Hill Road to Branch Avenue. It was all going to be the Census Bureau. So that's when he decided to sell off the dairy. At the last minute, after we had sold off all the cattle and equipment, they decided no, they weren't going to come to Branch Avenue. So we started Fleischman's Village subdivision. We built a couple of homes, and I went into the service in 1942. When I came back in 45, I continued to build, and I built Fleischman's Village. I built the Fleischman's Village Shopping Center on Bonita Street. I built the bowling alley that was right across from the skating rink.
That's where the Metro's at now.
That's where the Naylor Road Metro Station is located. I built then it was the Howard Johnson's Motel and the Howard Johnson's Restaurant. In 1992, I changed from Howard Johnson's. I leased the restaurant to International House of Pancake, and the motel became the Branch Avenue Motor Lodge.
Okay.
So really, I've been out in the county since 1930. So I consider myself both a D.C. resident and a Prince George's County resident as a result.
Well, your house is right on the border. I mean, you can't get much closer to PG County. I mean, you're like 100 yards from the property line, aren't you?
No, my property line is the D.C. Maryland line.
Okay, and this house used to be. House has got a history too, hasn't it?
Well, the story was J. Edgar Hoover used to live in this house, and so people even today call it the Hoover House.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Hoover were alive today, he would be ashamed of what our FBI has turned into, because what I've seen is this is a beautiful house, and I can understand why he would want it, but all I've seen of our Justice Department and FBI is collusion, corruption, underhanded, dirty tricks, influenced by political people rather than the rule of law.
I can't fight you on those thoughts, George. Not for a minute. It's true.
Yeah.
So true.
But I first met you, I believe it was 1980, when I was building the racket club. We started the racket club, and I ran into you. Were running a at the time I was building the racket club, you were running a furniture outlet, because you used to own the shopping center, right? I
used to own the shopping center, correct. And then there for a while, I leased one of the stores back.
Right.
And
well, you sold the shopping center. Who did you sell that to?
Burke Allen.
Burke Allen?
Burke Allen, yes.
And when did you sell that to him?
I really don't recall the exact.
I think it was 79. 78, 79, because I started dealing with him on the racket club in 1979, late 79,
it was probably
when I was trying to build the racket club.
It was about that time then, yeah.
And just taking it over, and we were doing some renovations, and then about 6 months later, you decided the hotel liquidation business.
Right.
So,
and then shortly after that, you all started working on crystal skates.
Well, so we built the racket club. We didn't. I started conceptual work on crystal skates in the racket club in 1978, 79. We opened the racket club in 1980 after putting several $1 million in it. And then in 1984, I opened up the roller skating rink, which is 50,000 feet, and that was that opened in September 1984. And then after that, then we took and opened up the hardware store,
right?
Which was down. That was part of the old. What was that?
It was a gem department store.
Yeah, it was a gem department store, and then it was E.J. Roberts had that space for a while.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, this gentleman here was kind enough to trust me after four years of knowing me, to come forth and to put money into Crystal Skate, and when he put his money in, other investors joined with us, and we decided that a skating rink would be beneficial to the people of the county. And we moved forward, and we did all the zoning and made everything 100% legal. And something went wrong, didn't it?
It certainly did.
It did.
In the beginning, that was an ideal situation. The skating rink, it was well attended by local kids, adults, and there were never any problems. And then all of a sudden, it seems as though the bottom dropped out.
Yeah, well, that's that has its own history.
I'm going to read a little bit of a speech by Eleanor Roosevelt from 1948 in Paris. I've come this evening to talk with you on one of the greatest issues of our time. That is the preservation of human freedom. I've chosen to discuss it here in France at the Sorbonne because here in this soil the roots of human freedom have long ago struck deep, and here they've been richly nourished. It was here the Declaration of the Rights of Man was proclaimed, and the great slogans of the French Revolution, liberté, équalité, fraternité, fired the imagination of men. I've chosen to discuss this issue in Europe because this has been the scene of the greatest historic battles between freedom and tyranny. I've chosen to discuss it in the early days of the General Assembly because the issue of human liberty is decisive for the settlement of outstanding political differences and for the future of the United Nations. We must not be confused about what freedom is. Basic human rights are simple and easily understood. Freedom of speech and a free press, freedom of religion and worship, freedom of assembly and the right of petition, the right of men to be secure in their homes and free from unreasonable search and seizure and from arbitrary arrest and punishment. Eleanor Roosevelt, 1948. Could the people who are going to read the quotes come up? We're going to have a little history lesson.
My name is Ann Grossman. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. Abraham Lincoln. The money powers prey upon the nation in times of peace and conspire against it in times of adversity. The banking powers are more despotic than a monarchy, more insolent than autocracy, more selfish than bureaucracy. They denounce as public enemies all who question their methods or throw light upon their crimes. I have two great enemies, the Southern Army in front of me and the bankers in my rear. Of the two, the one at my rear is my greatest foe, Abraham Lincoln. We, the people, are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution, Abraham Lincoln.
Hi, I'm Jerry Stein, and I'm Thomas Jefferson. I know no safe depository of the ultimate powers of the society but the people themselves. And if we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them, but to inform their discretion by education. This is the true corrective of abuses of constitutional power. I never believed there was one code of morality for a public and another for a private man. And that was in a letter to Don Valentin de Fernanda in 1809. I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever. If a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be.
Good evening. I don't need to adjust this too much. Good, I guess you can hear me. My name's Tim Scanlon from nearby in Maryland, yes, a blue state. And I'm representing Samuel Adams. Pardon me? I say we're all blue, but it sounds like a bad sun. But I remember representing Samuel Adams. You recall he was I believe he was John Adams' cousin. He was indeed a brewer for a while, not successful at that. He was, however, successful as an activist. He did say, "If ye love wealth greater than liberty, the tranquility of servitude greater than the animating contest for freedom, go home from us in peace. We seek not your counsel nor your arms. Crouch down and lick the hand that feeds you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen." He also said, "He therefore is the truest friend to liberty of this country, who tries most to promote its virtue, and who, so far as his power and influence extend, will not suffer a man to be chosen into any office of power and trust who is not a wise and virtuous man. The sum of all is, if we would most truly enjoy this gift of heaven, let us become a virtuous people." Finally, he also said, "If ever time should come when vain and aspiring men shall possess the highest seats in government," what? No. "Our country will stand in need of its experienced patriots to prevent its ruin."
My name is Tim Hoxton, and I wrote this myself. So I am here as a registered independent to say it doesn't matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat that violates the civil liberties of Americans. They all must be held accountable. Who would we blame if a liberal Democrat violated the civil liberties of Americans and no one spoke out against it? I am here as an American to speak out against anyone in government that would use their power to persecute the innocent. Thank you.
Great. This is really great. We need to be out here doing this. And my name is Paul Friedman. I'm with the Alexandria Democratic Committee. I'm a member, live out there, and I'm on the Resolutions Committee there. And a few weeks ago, we held a big meeting, and we passed a resolution, the whole committee, to investigate this. And if Congress won't investigate it properly, call for a special counsel to investigate it. But we need action. Unfortunately, we've got a Congress that's controlled by the Republicans, and they're not eager to take action. In fact, they're looking for ways to duck out and not be responsible, not do their job, and hold this president accountable for what he's done. And we all have to press every legislator we have to try to fight that. I can just say that this is, this law was passed in 1978, the FISA law. There's a law that was passed specifically to provide a secret court. A secret court. That's, sort of jeopardizes our civil liberties sufficiently right there. But nonetheless, we provided that court so that these kind of special wiretaps could be legally done, and we'd have oversight. And that wasn't good enough for the president. He knew that that law existed. He went around it purposely, and now he's trying to duck out and claim that he has the power to do that. It's in the Constitution, he says. Well, if he has the power to do this and avoid congressional law, he has the power to do just about anything. And of course, we know he's trying to do just about anything. He's arranging for God knows what goes on down there in Cuba with the prisoners he's got there. We already know that that's wrong. People being disappeared from our country to other parts of the world to be in, who knows what they're doing to them in those parts of the world to find out the evidence they want to get. We have a very bad situation. We have a president who is not respectful of the law, not respectful of Congress, not respectful of the American public, not respectful of the press who ask the questions on our behalf. It's really outrageous. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of this tonight, to stand up and say, enough is enough. The president has broken the law. Let's hold him accountable.
Hi, I'm Catherine Davis. I'm a resident of Maryland. And I have something very basic. It's the Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause. supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized, which is not happening anymore.
I want to introduce you to John Evans over here, the man standing there with the signs. John, you okay?
Okay.
So you just want to say something about the troops? Okay.
My name is John Evans, and I am a veteran, and I was declared dead for no reason. And you don't treat stress and give stress. And that's what I'm worried about right now. Our troops overseas gonna be coming home with stress. We know that they're gonna be treated for stress, but why treat them for stress and give them stress at the same time? So that's what I'm fighting for. I cannot fight to keep them from going over there, but I sure can fight for them when they come home. Thank you so much.
Thanks, John. I don't know about you, but I find the layers of secrecy this administration has laid down dizzying in their density. The FISA court, which we didn't even know about, has been supplanted by an even more secret process consisting of people skulking around without warrants, hoping to nab stateless Muslims so that they can be sent to Gitmo or worse, and be held without bail or a hearing. So much for the rule of law over men, so much for justice under the law, so much for the Constitution. Aside from the obvious fact that the actions of the government in circumventing FISA have led to secret spying on citizens with the flimsiest of causes, I urge us to look beyond our outrage and fear of Big Brother at our door, to look at the cumulative effects of all of the outrages on what was once a beacon of hope for the world, this country's democratic principles. Our government is under attack, and it isn't from outside insurgents. Our government is under attack from its stewards. The Bush administration, far from being the law-abiding stalwart defenders of freedom they ran as, has turned out to be made up of embezzlers. Instead of providing for the common defense, promoting the general welfare, and securing the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, as they promised, they've mortgaged our children's futures. What have they embezzled? They've stolen our votes, they've abused the air and water and natural resources of the planet, they've withheld learning opportunities for our children, they've cut support for higher education so 18-year-olds have fewer options, and they have sent those young bodies and minds into harm's way with lies and backroom deals. They have failed to take care of people in the midst of disasters or to provide services to those devastated before, during, and after such events. They have re-granted our tax dollars to the wealthy instead of to the needy. But we know all this, don't we? We understand crimes have been committed in our name and against our neighbors. It's the 38 to 45% of us that we need to address now. Because the biggest fraud of all is the one perpetrated on the people who care about this country, who want and need protection and services, but who are being conned by the powerful into supporting their own demise. They feel uneasy, they feel afraid of the future, and that future is being stolen every day. Their choices, their agency, their health, and their money, embezzled by arrogant profiteers and criminals. We must continue to speak up and speak out and provide the same kind of fire that the founders of this country did. We are the people, and we will have our say.
I know for my son who's 16, I asked him, did you know who the people they're wiretapping are? He says, oh, you know, the bad people. I said, oh, okay. Well, those of you who are on Karen on my mailing list know that the Christian peacemaker teams were here, and I talked to Cliff Kindy quite a bit back and forth organizing stuff, and he said, just so you know, in case you say something really interesting, my phones are tapped. That's cool. I'll think of something really interesting to say. You know. And let me just tell you about Cliff Kindi so you know who the enemy of the state is. The Christian peacemaker teams work with the Muslim peacemaker teams in Iraq, teaching non-violent ways of dealing with violence. And what's really cool is they work with the different Muslim sects, teaching the different Muslim sects how to work together, teaching peace. How's that for cool? And that is cool. And the Iraqis are really excited about this. So he told me this, and I'm kind of like, yeah, all right, cool, whatever. And
over $500,000.
Correct.
And had you invested that money in any other entity, any of your other investments, what do you think that might have been worth today, 20 years later?
20 years later, probably, I'd say a minimum of $5 million. A minimum.
Yeah. I would have to go along with that.
Yeah.
Because you've been a pretty prudent investor over your years.
True.
And you've got good returns on your investments.
Absolutely.
And I'm just horrified that you had to, that each time I took you to court, that the court treated you like you were a second-class citizen.
This is so true also.
I mean, I just found out recently that the judge in the first bankruptcy hearing that we went to, that Judge Gerald Schaefer, he was a fraud. He wasn't even a judge. He wasn't even a federal judge. He was sitting in a federal courthouse, putting himself out to be a federal bankruptcy judge, purportedly from Appaloosa, Louisiana. But there's no record that there was ever any judge visiting from Appaloosa, Louisiana at that time. So we were robbed by a conspiracy between the bankruptcy court judge, Paul Manis, and this fictitious judge, Gerald Schaefer.
And meanwhile, there's nothing we can do.
Well, there is something we can do. We're doing it right now. We're looking right into this camera, and we're making a record because you were there, and John Johnson was there, and Harold McDermott was there, and they were three witnesses who were there when that judge was sitting on the bench. And that's one of the reasons I'm making this video, so that people can come back, you know. And then Mr. Fleshman came with me several times more on the 13288 case, where I have been fighting to get my title to my home back. And right now, here we go, September term 2005, docket number 490. This is my latest. This was filed on the 28th of December of this year, last year. And this is a petition in the petitioner's corrected motion to correct deficiency in the Maryland Court of Appeals. Okay, and this has already been read into the record on other shows on secretjustice.com. But you invested over $500,000.
Correct.
And had you invested that money in any other entity, any of your other investments, that I walked away from Mr. Fleshman's investment, I walked away from my family's investment and my family's inheritance, I walked away from my commitment to my other partners and to the commitment to the people of Prince George's County to provide them with a safe environment for their children.
That is not true. That I can swear to. That George McDermott has never walked away from anything pertaining to Crystal Skates or the shopping center or his home. That I can swear to.
And you know, and it's ludicrous.
And you heard about the man who was so angry with himself. He said 30 years ago he could have invested in Federal Express, but he thought they were a fly-by-night company. You want to open all these tapes from Brooklyn? Thank you, Brooklyn Community Access TV, for returning Glendora's videotapes. It's been a long time, and you were so good to do it. So be thanked. And thank you, BCAT, Brooklyn Community Access TV, for cablecasting a chat with Glendora all these years. Thank you, Joan Myers. The morning ablutions. Here comes one. That's Mama. Here's a picture for you folks. Here's a good video. Just a few tapes to wrap. Just a few. Just a few, like 8 there, 8 there, 8 there, 8 there, 8 there, 8 there, 4 there, another 8 over here. Just a few to wrap. And then we go over, oh yeah, here's some more. These are McDermott's. And then go over here and look at the kitty whom I disturbed. Oh, here's a few more to wrap. And here's 7 Yonkers. And a couple of Chathams. And 5 Berkshires. and Morningstar Farms grillers. Oh, you know what's wrong? The night light's on because I had to show you the raccoons. And these pens, they're no good. I buy pens, I wear them out, I go through a couple of pens a day. There's those Yonker tapes. And these are extra editions of New York Court of Appeals, Suzanne McCormick. Oh yeah, this is the one we have to get to Nassau County. Here it is, folks. I think we .com and I, my cat and I, wrapped 97 tapes, videotapes. There's the second column, here's the third column, here's the fourth column. And here's this YonkersOne.com. Yeah, this Yonkers one has has 9 programs in it. Goes all the way through to October 4th. Oh, .com, I don't think that's advisable. And she found that out in a hurry. They're so cute the way they test with their fingers. So anyway, I'm going to give you the stats. Then I'm going to ask you a question that I'd like to have you answer for me. It's 12 hours to videotape this chat with Glendora.